right, welcome to the April 12th, 2017 meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the City of East Hampton. Today we'll be starting at 6:30. We will be concluding our meeting at 7:45. If we are not finished at that time, we will delay it to the next meeting. I'm just letting everybody know right up front. So, administrative items, public speak time. Is there anyone who has anything to say that is not here in reference to here that is before us this evening? Crickets. Okay, approval of the meetings of the January 12th, 2017 meeting.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes.
All right,
Second.
second. All in favor? Okay. And correspondences or any requests?
There was one special permit decision from the planning board.
Okay, the planning board made a approval for a smoke shop at 49 Union Street, approved with conditions. So if anyone is interested in reading about that, it is here.
The smoke shop, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Oh, that kind of a smoke shop?
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking it was meat.
Yeah, that's the guy
Meat
on
and fish.
Cottage Street. So, all right, are we up to 6:35? No, that's 6:31. That took a minute. Okay. We will begin our regular hearing at 6:35. It's the posted time, so that's when we have to start. So. That's what we know.
That's what you're supposed to
Do we
tell
want to do
jokes.
our announcements now, so we can take up some time now?
How many minutes? Oh.
I'll go slow. Our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, May 10th. I believe that Fran already indicated that he cannot make it, correct?
Yep.
Okay, is there anyone else that is gonna have a challenge making a May 10th meeting? Okay, so,
So it does get continued, hopefully.
Well,
Everyone,
or if we have any other applicants.
yes.
Okay?
There are some things coming down the pipeline, but they haven't been submitted.
Okay, and they have until next Wednesday to submit. Okay. Members of the board, you'll see that Jamie included a copy of the special permit criteria for approval. These are the items that we typically have to go through that we always fumble around trying to find. And I asked Jamie to put it in a concise place so we can
Very good suggestion.
make notes and make sure that we cover everything and we have some sort of a boilerplate to work on.
If anyone wants a copy of that, I've got copies.
All right. I think that as people use them, they may ask for another one, because I know that I will probably put notes on mine.
Yeah, so I have a few.
Thank you. All right. There was also a list of all of the board meetings for the year. Is there anyone who looked at that list that is aware of any meetings that they will not be able to attend?
Yes, the one in September, and possibly the one in October.
Okay,
Writing that down.
all right. Anyone else?
I couldn't possibly guess that.
I'm with you.
Fire the future.
Yeah, yeah.
That cannot be here in September? That cannot be able to make in September, or possibly?
I'm hoping to go cross-country in September and October, but that all depends on whether I can learn to pull a trailer.
That is okay.
We'll have plenty of time to.
Yeah.
All right. We used up enough time. All right, we'll begin public hearings. First hearing is from Chad Willard, doing business as Red's Towing of 30 Park Hill Road, seeking a special permit for towing office and storage area in accordance with East Hampton zoning ordinance, Table 5-1, wholesale transportation and industrial, number 6, open storage of raw materials, finished goods, or construction equipment, and structures for storing such equipment. Subject property is located at 2 East Street, parcel ID 110-32, and zone highway business. Mr. Willard.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well.
This is Ben Scott, Chad Rufo, part of Red's Towing.
Okay.
We're wondering opening up a tow yard there.
All right.
And putting in a fence on the right side of the building. I have a sketch of it and cleaning the yard up, make it
Okay.
presentable, nice landscaping around it. There'll be cameras, we'll have a light, but it won't be bothering the neighbors. The yard will be lit up.
All right.
And just curious on what we would need to do to do that there on that property.
Well, you presented your application,
Yep.
so,
I went to the site, and right off, I think we need a much more detailed site plan than this, for a combination of reasons. You abut a residential zone, and it looks like that property has not been used in years and years and
It
years,
hasn't.
and it really is a mess.
Yeah.
And it looks like when they put that building there, they dug out behind the building and on the side next to Wilder. And you can't tell from this map or going out there where the property line is. So where the fence would be or where the buffer would be to separate you from the residential neighbors. We need a lot more detail. I suspect that your fence, your 40-foot fence, is gonna go right from the building to your property line on Wilder.
Right.
And that's a front yard, and the maximum height of a fence there in a front yard is, I think, 5 feet, which might be a problem if it's for a buffer. So I think we need a grading plan to show the exact location of where the buffer is on the, and I'm not good at, the house behind you, the one that has like the blue picket
my
fence.
house.
Yep.
I don't know where that property line is, and if
Where
the
the
fence
fence
is
is.
the property line,
That's the property line.
okay, if you wanna use your whole property, a lot of grading's gonna happen, and we don't want you to because that needs to
Right.
be a buffer.
Right.
And if you don't use that, I don't know where you're gonna park your vehicles. My other concern is when you bring in a towed vehicle to put in your fenced-in area, it would appear that the only way you can get the vehicle in there is to back in there, which would be using the East Street right-of-way for turning, and I don't know if that's really a safe place right there at the intersection in Wilder, because you can't, you're gonna, even if you come in on the Route 5 side, to get the vehicles off the back of your truck, you're gonna need to back in. So I think we need to see turning movement so you can get your vehicles, how that's gonna work.
Yeah, there's plenty of room in there.
Well, I need to see it on a
Yeah.
piece of paper, because it doesn't look
Well, a
like
piece of-
there's plenty of room.
You-
In addition, if you're gonna put a garage in there, we need to see where the parking is, because you're no longer be able to park in front of the storage area where the gates are, or in front of the garage doors. So where is the parking?
The parking will be on the left side of the building,
I
on the
just,
Route 5 side.
but I need to see that on the
Okay.
map.
Yeah,
I need
okay.
to see the grading, the buffer, the fence,
Yeah,
actually how the site works.
Okay.
I mean, I would recommend you hire a professional if you're serious about this site, to do a site plan. I don't think it'll work, might, but you would have to have a map prepared that shows it works.
yeah. Okay,
Because of the grading, the buffer against the residential neighbors, the fence height, which is restricted in certain areas. I mean, if you have vehicles in there, it'd be great to have a 10-foot fence, but that's a front yard, and I don't think you can
Right.
have a 10-foot fence.
Right.
right.
No, it would never be that high to begin with.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. We wanted to
Your plan
see.
said you were gonna shield the cars, and that takes a tall fence, so you can't do that on a front yard.
Right.
Right.
So I personally would need a lot more information before I could vote on this.
I mean, it's
That's my
something-
opinion.
Yeah, something I'm concerned about is the lighting, that, it is abutting a residential area.
Mhm.
Yep.
And, the light obstruction, for the neighborhood is something that comes into,
Yeah,
a
no.
big play.
The
Right.
neighbors, our ultimate goal would be to do something and not disturb the neighbors, so all the recommendations that you guys are making are being taken in,
Okay.
yeah, so, anything you guys have to recommend,
No,
that's
the lighting is key in my book, because it's abutting residential area.
Mhm.
And,
Right.
yes, it's zoned, highway industrial or highway business, but because it abuts a residential area,
Mhm.
it kind of has to meet both criteria at that point.
Right,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, another concern would be, like you get a call to tow a car at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and, beep, 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 and you have neighbors
Right,
Right.
right there.
yeah.
Yep,
Yeah, that's solved with a toggle switch on
Yeah.
the backup alarms that we have on all our trucks.
they're all shut off
So, when you back
for
up, that's,
neighborhoods and
but,
everything.
yeah.
Will this also do repairs?
No, it wouldn't even
Just
be
a
a fully
storage.
functional
It's
garage.
just,
It-
all it is a storage yard.
It would, it
Okay, well,
would,
it says garage, and I don't, and. if
Well,
you
that's
look-
what the building was originally, back
Yeah.
Well, it
yeah,
50
doesn't
years
look
ago.
like it, but it's a
No,
hotel.
it used to be a gas station back years and years ago.
yeah.
And then it was turned into the bait shop, but there used to be a full-run gas station there.
Well, I think that was before East Street was so busy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And my concern is, it's a little site, particularly if that blue picket fence is her property
It's my
line.
property line.
Mhm.
That takes away a lot of what shows as you, this map would imply as usable property, because that fence is way in the back.
Mhm.
right.
Which means if you're gonna use that, you're gonna have to do a lot of excavation, and I don't think we want that excavation.
No, there's gonna be no excavating by
But-
that part.
You can't, I don't know how you're gonna park all your vehicles and your tow trucks. all
There's gonna
on
be
this
no tow
property.
trucks parked there, just during, say, 8 to 4:30. If there's a tow that comes at nighttime, there'll be a tow truck in there, but it's mostly like a substation.
Okay, I
Like,
just
it's not where
feel,
you'd be dispatching tow trucks from. it would
No,
be
Right.
no.
tow trucks dropping
I need, yeah, it's out of West Springfield, I have one in Hoyoke, and then 19 Hoyoke Street, Northampton's another one. That's just like a substation,
It would be storage lot.
storage lot.
Would the cars get moved from there to another lot after a certain period of time, or
Yeah.
what would be the?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
would be disposed
Like the insurance
of.
would come in, if it was an accident, they'd come in, look at it. Within a week or 2 weeks, they're normally gone.
What's the longest term that a vehicle will be kept there?
Well, it depends on the situation. If it was a long term, I'd take it to another facility,
More than 30 days, I'd say it would, 30 days would be the longest.
longest. Other than that, I'd take it to one of my other yards. It'd probably only be, wouldn't be too many cars in there at once, unless there was snow towing or something, that would fill it. But other than that, there wouldn't be 15 cars in there, probably.
One of the concerns that, that we thought about, I'm sorry, my name is Chad Rufo. One of the things that we thought about with this property and took into consideration are the things that you had mentioned. The neighbors behind us, and their property, and how it's gonna affect them. And the lighting, as Chad said, we need light, you mentioned the lighting. The lighting would not be gleaming on their house, the lighting would be from the rear facing down and out. The lighting is what we would feel wouldn't be an issue. The noise level of maybe somebody dropping a car off at night or in the late hours of the evening would be no more than a car driving by on Route 5 or a tractor
trailer
driving by on Route 5,
Or the train going by at, or the Amtrak.
The train idling to go into Mount Tom Box there, or that packaging corporation, those things sit there all night long.
Not in our neighborhood. Not in our neighborhood.
Railroad runs right there. It wouldn't be that noisy. We've thought about the consideration of the neighbors, and it's a concern.
there's only at the most 30 feet from the front of your gate to the front property line, so there's no way with a tow that you're gonna be able to get anything in that storage facility without using the East Street right of way.
Where you drop it and I take a forklift and put it right in.
Well, we need to see that, I think, on
Yeah.
here. I just think backing up and using East Street right of way is it's an accident waiting to happen.
Right, no,
Right.
there shouldn't be any backing in the street.
Can I say something?
We'll get time for the public, for everybody in the public to speak, don't worry, okay?
Thank you.
Well, and the other thing, I as well drove by there. And, you know, you're showing that the fence is gonna extend from the back of the building towards, what we'll call the back of the property. That's almost straight uphill. And you're saying you're not gonna do any excavating.
No, I thought you were talking on the left side of the building.
Right.
There'll be no excavating.
But on the right side of the
The
building?
right side, I'd put a nice wall in there, like a retaining wall.
Okay, see, and this is where a real site plan
Yep.
is gonna reflect all this?
Yep.
Because, you know, the lines on paper there don't really reflect.
Right,
that.
well, that's why we came here to see what was needed.
Right.
Okay.
No, no,
It's really important that we have, you know, before we make decisions like this, that we
Yeah.
really make sure we understand exactly what we're approving,
Understandable.
okay?
Mhm.
And, you know, we just wanna make sure that we take everything into consideration, so then we don't end up with hey, why did this happen?
Mhm.
Right.
Because it comes back on us and it creates quite a bit of a hassle.
Yeah.
Right.
We've been down this road before.
Mhm.
So, and I just wanna make sure that at the end of the day, everybody understands what is gonna happen on this property.
Mhm.
Okay?
Yep.
And, you know, at this point, I consider it very vague and, you know, as Linda said, you know, really unable to make a decision based on what's been presented.
Right.
Right.
Okay? Do you have anything additional you'd like to add
We'll
at
just
this point?
Get a.
No, I think we understand what's you guys would like to see as a board.
Okay.
And I'd like to hear what all the neighbors have to say as well.
Okay. Well, and we'll
Yep.
get to that.
I was just gonna say that, I encourage you not only to listen to what the neighbors have to say, but if they have concerns, use the opportunity to, when the meeting is over and you're all in the same space, like, introduce yourselves. Like, it's nice that you don't wanna inconvenience neighbors, but I'm sure they would have loved to have heard from you in person before they're hearing from you here. And one of the things that we find over and over is that, like, the relationships that people have with their neighbors can like keep things from coming here and can also cause things to come here when they go south.
Right, yep.
So that's like an important, you know, it's not exactly within our purview, but it's an important part of like how this process works.
Right.
Okay.
I had a question about the height of the fence. Because at the table 5.1, looks like it requires a 10-foot high fence, and then you were talking about, that seems to conflict
Well,
with
it's
the other fencing requirements, so I think
on
we
a
should at
front,
least.
on a
Yeah.
front
Yeah,
yard,
sure,
I
okay.
just looked at the front yard and I consider this a front yard because there's a street there. And according to the regulations on fences, a 5-foot fence height is the maximum on a front yard.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the reference Jamie
Well,
made
I
to
mean,
the
there's
conflicting.
fence heights and setbacks and buffers are listed, I think, at 6 or 7 different places throughout the ordinance.
Right.
So table, the planning department made the, sort of recommendation to the applicant that because the use they're applying for specifically calls for a 10-foot fence, that would be the standard that they have to do. The table, our section 6.
I was looking at wherever it is.
5, I believe, says, you know, that it's a 4-foot height in the front.
4 foot,
It's
that's right.
4 foot in the front setback, side, 6 foot in the side, 8 foot, elsewhere, and then it has to be set back a distance of equal to the height of the fence. You know, there's buffer strips that they're required to provide as well. So that was sort of left to the zoning board of appeals to determine what the regulation's gonna be, because the ordinance itself contradicts itself in many different places. So we told the applicant to go with the 10-foot fence, because that's what their use required.
But it has to be further back than the setback for the front. I mean, because the 4-foot fence can be within your.
Although
Your
it's
setback.
conceivable if they built a retaining wall and put a 4-foot fence on top of the retaining wall, would have the 4-foot fence. But in actuality, it would be 10 feet from the ground level. But we need to see that on a plan.
Right.
Well, and then there's also a clause here that says all business and industrial districts, fences located within the side or rear yards and exceeding 6 feet in height shall be set back a distance equal to their height. So if it's 10 feet from, if the fence is 10 feet tall, it has to be at least 10 feet away from the property line. So this is all,
Right, so that's.
it's all parts of the.
And then there's also the buffer of trees between the property line as well. Is that something you guys are planning on doing?
On the right side of the building?
Um,
On the wild,
You know what, I think this is again like,
yeah,
do you get a good
Plan.
plan? But
Yeah.
maybe at this point, we should, because we want to make sure that we have time to hear from the people,
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
folks who have
Yeah.
come tonight, and we do have to end a little bit
That's
earlier
true.
than we
Yeah.
sometimes do.
Okay.
But I think we've given you a lot of things to work on.
information, yeah, that's what we
tonight.
needed, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Food for thought.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. So at this point, I'm going to open it up to the public. The one thing I do want to make sure is that the comments or questions that the public asks are directed to the board. And if there's a question that needs to be answered by the applicant, that they are given a chance to speak, but everything is directed through the board, and it's not personal back and forth or anything like that. Just want to make sure everybody understands the rules of employment.
And start by stating your name and address, so that your comments get entered into the record.
All right, we'll start in the back.
I'm Ed Sparko from Samansky Avenue. I've been a lifelong resident of the area. And I remember pumping gas at the gas station when Bobby Goodgen owned it. And at the time, they had a used car license there. And the Board of Selectmen at that time placed a limit of 6 vehicles on that lot when that business was in operation. And I just offer this to the board as a reference of the number of vehicles that previous administrations allowed to be used in that. But the limit, I remember that the limit of the used cars that they could have in a lot was 6, and it may be part of a public record back if you wanted to go back that far in history.
When was that?
Whenabouts was that?
That was back in the late 60s, I'd say 65, between 65 and 70.
Next. Sir?
My name's Frank Poli. I live on the corner of East Street and Wilder Avenue. My front yard, the front lawn is on a hill. The whole goddamn street is on a hill, right? So if you stand on my front yard, and if I'm looking at that building with a 4 or 5 foot fence to hold the dirt back, and then a thing on top of it, I could still see over if they have cars there. All right? I don't want that thing there, for Christ's sake. I've been looking at that junkyard, it's more like a pig pen, for 15 years, and I'm disgusted with it. And I don't want anybody else in there with cars, and I got a dog, and she barks 2, 3 o'clock in the morning if she hears some noise. So if there's a car going in there at 1, 2, whatever, the dog's gonna bark, wake me up. And the lights, she puts the lights up in the back like they're saying, it's gonna shine, a lot of it's gonna be shining on my property. I don't want nothing to do with it. I'd be 100% against it. Put that on the record.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Sherry Lamond, and I am the property right that abuts it.
What's the address?
2 Samansky Avenue.
Thank you.
The two of the major concerns are, my water is connected to that building. So when the Oxbow Sports, I've owned the house for 22 years. When they were open, when they shut their water off, my water would go off. So I would need a new water line. I don't feel comfortable having somebody in that building without a different water line.
Interesting scenario, that.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it was never a problem because I was friends with the Oxbow Sports guy,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
wasn't a problem. It's a problem for me now.
Was it originally under the same ownership?
I don't know.
Originally, I'm Beverly Wadika. I'm 4 Samansky Avenue. I'm the 4th generation in that house. And the house below was owned by the Safanoskis, and the son of the Safanoskis was the one who excavated and put the Texaco station in probably in the early 50s. So it was owned by one family. The property was owned by one family. So that's probably how it started.
Right, so my water is connected to that building, so there's one water line for both the buildings. The other concern I have is I have tenants, it's a 2-family house. I live upstairs, I rent at bottom. And we have a family business. My partner has an accounting firm that she has a back office that abuts the fence, and that it will affect our income. That it'll be harder for me to rent, and it will affect my partner's clients. I also have a dog.
Doesn't bark as much as
Well,
Maggie.
she's a barker, and she will bark. Also, my kitchen, right there, if there's lights, and my bedroom, which has a skylight on that side. Yeah, I'm concerned with the traffic. We have more traffic now because of just more traffic now. Why is there more traffic?
More people.
More people.
Yeah.
I also have a business. The house has been in my family for 4 generations. It was originally built as a hotel. Because it was Mount Tom Junction, there was a train stop there, and it was the building that was built at the bottom of the hill before the people went up to the Airy House. I have a bed and breakfast on the 2nd floor, and I'm concerned both about noise if I have guests and cars are coming in and out at night. Also lighting from the 2nd floor, you can see over Sherry's house. The lighting could be very disturbing to anyone in the rooms on that side of the house. And on the 3rd floor, I have a tenant, who also would have bedroom windows on that side of the house. And I think it would be very disturbing to have noise, and the building there has been an eyesore for years.
Exactly.
And I'd love to see it disappear because it's just so bad.
Maybe
It's
if
not an attraction for my bed and breakfast, which I've been running since 1988.
Hey, if we lived in Hoyoke,
Can you?
they could
state
tear the
your
building
name and
down.
address for the record, please? Name and address for the record?
Beverly.
Who, Beverly?
No, the gentleman who was just speaking.
Oh,
Frank.
6 East Street, corner of Wilder Avenue.
And I would also like to know what their plans are for the building if there's any plan to improve the looks of that ugly building.
Well, it has a big hole in the roof.
Yeah, I know it. Should be torn
There's a big hole in the
down.
roof. I'm not quite sure it's usable.
Yes?
You gotta address that.
You gotta address
Give
this.
us more information to address the
Well, you know,
concerns that have been voiced. You can talk to them after the meeting.
I completely hear and understand their concerns. I would say to you that if you look at this property, it's a complete eyesore. One of the things that the 3 of us has discussed was, how are we gonna make this place eye candy? How do we wanna make it appealing? And what are we gonna do to protect our neighbors, our potential customers, our future customers? How are we gonna dress this place up? What are we gonna do to make it look nice? And if you asked for an official plan, so,
We should just
you
come
know,
back with
that's
that.
what we could do, but some of the things, the retaining wall with some shrubs in the fence. You don't just look at a fence, you also have some shrubs on the outside of the fence, in between the 2 properties. I can understand all their concerns. They're not concerns that we have not thought about. If you had driven by either of the two properties that Reds has now, you will currently see, they're attractive. They look nice. We have a lot in the Flats of Holyoke. One of the things that, a question that was asked, and the gentleman had in the back about the cars, one of the things that we have discussed was, you're right, how long are we gonna allow cars to be here? What is the reason? Well, currently, we are not towing for any organization as of today. As of any future is a possibility, because we would like to seek those opportunities as well. During the daytime, would there be somebody in and out of there? Possibly. How often? It's an address, it's a location, it's a place to put a car to. If there were a greater amount of cars that were gonna be sitting a significant amount of time, we would transport them to Holyoke. We have a huge lot in Holyoke. You know, I have the same concern because I live on Hamden Street in Holyoke. It's busy. I have an Irish store next to me. They have a light that lights up into my driveway. Was it a concern when he wanted to turn it from a handyman store into an Irish store? Yeah, it was a concern. But we work together and we're great neighbors. You know, I just think that
The whole building, if you've done over it.
the roof is horrible.
Yeah.
That needs to be done.
Be all sided, painted.
We know what we're getting into. We're gonna put money into this property. We need to start. You know, without having a start, we can't do that. I can't come in here and tell you I'm gonna have this Taj Mahal place, but I can tell you that I will guarantee you it will look a hell of a lot better than it does now.
Yeah.
You know? And I love dogs, by the way. Just saying.
Well, you should feel free to submit pictures of your other lots when you come back.
I think we're all in agreement, we need a better site
Site
plan,
plan.
more
Yeah.
detailed.
Well,
Everyone
and
needs-
Well,
something.
this was just to know what we needed to do,
Yeah.
what
We've
you
never-
guys wanted
We've never
from
done
us.
this before.
Well,
I mean,
and
we're young guys, we're, you know, so, really.
It's something that, you know, you brought up, you're gonna make it look nice.
Oh, it's gonna look nice when I'm done with
Are
it.
you gonna have signs?
Yeah.
You gonna have a light up sign? Is the sign gonna be lit?
Yeah.
All of these
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
okay, are part of that application, that, you know, whatever you submit, because that, basically, you need to say, you know, it's like a blueprint for a house.
You need to
This is what I'm
itemize
gonna
it.
build.
Right.
Right.
And because without that, I'm looking at a picture off of Google Maps with strings on it.
Yeah,
Right.
And
yeah.
the thing
Doesn't
too,
fly.
the thing too is that everybody's gonna have, not everybody, but I think there's a tendency to like have sort of like the most extreme like image come into your head, and so the more that you can be specific about, you know, it won't be more than X number of cars, it won't be for more than X number of days, like, and kind of get out in front of what like our concerns might be, and just be more specific when you come back, that'll be helpful.
Okay.
Something-
We can put limits on you, but if you come already having narrowed down to what you think
Mhm.
realistically is what you actually are asking for, that will make our life.
And talk to a professional lighting contractor
Yeah.
about what kind of lights would serve your purpose and would not disrupt your neighbors.
Right.
Because there are all kinds of lights out there. And I know your neighbors don't want a spotlight.
Right.
So they have these things called full cutoff lights, shoebox type lights, that they only shine down.
Right.
And a lighting contractor could come up with a way to make a lot safer, safe, but without disturbing the neighbors.
Mhm.
So you have a lot of work to do.
Yep.
And something else I would recommend is, your neighbors are concerned about what they are gonna see from their house. The joys of Photoshop, you can make it, you can show a picture, look, this is what you're gonna see when you sit on your front porch. This is, and here it is during the day, and here it is at night.
Right.
So the best way to make people feel comfortable is to say, this is really what you're gonna get.
Mhm.
Okay?
Could
We've
I
already
add-
heard from you,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna hear from.
One thing, one
Oh.
quick thing. On Wilder Avenue, there's two beautiful trees there. A maple tree, probably 35 years old, and what I call a banana tree. I've been raking them goddamn leaves for 20 years. Since I've been, but by putting a retaining wall there, it's gonna cut the roots and it's gonna kill the trees.
Well, and that's all part of, you know, what we need to hear about. Because the tree warden in town may have something to say about that too.
Good.
Okay, Joel Keefe, 5 East Street, directly across from this. I'm also owner of Aaron's 24/7 Towing, which is off of Lovefield Street. I know these gentlemen just through business. I have a lot of concerns with this, because the lot's too small. So, I don't, knowing the towing business and what the city requires and what these guys are gonna get into through the city contracts that they're going for, the spot's not big enough. They're asking for 10 cars. We towed 48 on the first of them through the snowstorms. Where are they gonna put 48 cars there? It's just not gonna happen. I got stuck with 15 cars in the last 6 months through the city. It takes 108 days to get rid of those cars. So I got 15 cars for 108 days. There's no city bylaw that cuts it down to 30 days like West Springfield. If you tow a car in East Hampton, it has to stay in East Hampton for that 108 days. So you're gonna have 15 cars there for 108 days? It's not enough room. Cars that get into an accident. They talked about the insurance companies pick them up. Transporters have 4-car carriers. Where's the 4-car carrier gonna park? Well, they drag a car out and load. You're gonna load in East Street, you're gonna load on Semensky, not enough room. There's not enough room. My lot, my storage lot is as big as that property. I filled it up to capacity 4 times this year. Couldn't fit any more cars. I mean, I got pictures of their lot versus our lot. And you can see this is my lot. This is just the storage lot, this area here. This is this piece here. So we got the measurements that they included in their site plan. 175 feet, 90 feet, 50 feet. Right? My lot, 90 feet, 160 feet, 60 feet, 60 feet. My lot is as big as their lot, my whole lot. I'm sitting on 4 acres. There's just not enough room. Before they waste their time and money getting a professional site plan, I think you really need to look at the size. My site plan was 5,000, and that was cheap. I think they're wasting their money trying to get this to happen there. So perhaps they need to figure a difference.
Is that an extra, can we have one for our record?
There's one for each, yeah.
Well, I think we just need one for the record.
Yep. So, I just think there's a lot of concern with where they're gonna put snow.
Yeah.
I mean, the vehicles coming in and out, where the people that work there, where they're gonna park, where's the customers gonna park?
Well, and that's all part of what a site
Yeah.
plan is gonna show you.
There's just not enough room there.
Yeah.
Can I say something else? Fat Tracks has now moved their business. I'm sorry, Sherry Lamond, 2 Samansky Avenue. Fat Tracks has moved their business, their total business now, right in front of my house. So this would be beside my house and Fat Tracks is in front. The parking there already is tremendous.
Exactly.
I can't imagine more cars coming and going there. Fat Tracks is parking on the side, they're parking behind. I don't know how any more traffic can go there. And it's dangerous. That corner is dangerous.
Yeah, exactly.
The last car count was 19,240 cars a day, 19,000. Go down to 5.
And just on Samansky Avenue, right there at the bottom, it's because Fat Tracks parking lot is there.
Well, I know when I tried to go into the lot, you know, to look at it, I was coming from Northampton. And because I was going straight on Route 5, somebody decided that I should go because everybody in front of me was turning down East Street.
Right.
Yeah. And Yeah,
It's-
I don't know
it's
if that's
tricky.
T-boned,
Yeah.
because, you know, at what point do you put on a turn signal?
Right, that's right, it's really tricky there.
So,
And then adding tow trucks, and I can't imagine it.
yes, ma'am.
Beverly Wadika, 4 Samansky Avenue. I too have a dog. And I walk the dog every day on the rail trail or down to the boat ramp. And certain times a day, it's really hard to get across East Street.
Exactly.
It's almost impossible to get across East Street. I have to wait and wait and wait because nobody's polite enough to stop. Occasionally somebody is. But there's a lot of traffic at very specific times of day when everybody's going to work and coming from work. And I can't imagine trying to get a large tow truck in there with cars and trying to go across the traffic. It would be very dangerous.
Yes.
Hi, Corinne Keefe, 5 East Street. I'm concerned about the chemicals that they're planning on storing there.
I am too.
Is there any chemical storage that's gonna take place in the location?
One of the things that we do at Reds is we do an environmental prep service. So any car that we tow in to Reds now, whether it's a Holyoke accident or a West Springfield accident, Turnpike accident, wherever the accident is,
Northampton.
and it's leaking fluids, that vehicle immediately goes inside of our building where we have an oil-water separation system, all right? And then we remove the remainder of the fluids that are leaking from the car. And then the car's dry. We return it back to general population. So when a car comes on the property, it immediately goes inside, right? Once it's done draining, if it's, let's say the radiator's broken, coolant comes out a little bit at a time, gets on our bed, we offload the car into the building, we drain the remainder of the fluid that is leaking. We do an environmental prep service. After that is done draining out, we return it back to what we call general population, where it does not contaminate our property.
The draining's all done in West Springfield too.
So it's not, you know,
Okay, so all of that draining would be done in West Springfield?
Bring,
Correct.
brought to a containment bay in West Springfield,
It's back
prepped,
to
and then
general
returned to general
population.
population.
Okay.
He didn't say that, I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
That was my next question.
Yeah,
Okay.
it wouldn't, that wouldn't be happening.
Okay. All right. So, is there any other questions from the community? Is the board?
A couple. Well, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Robert Smith, I'm at 47 Wilder Ave. I don't abut these people that want to go down there, but I have the same concerns as my neighbors as far as noise, traffic. If you've ever been down in the summertime, park your vehicle somewhere, because that boat launch is so bad. These people are parking all over the place. Come down in the morning when the school bus from East Hampton makes a U-turn to go back up East Street instead of going through that driveway, because he can't probably, because it's private property, but I can't get out of the street sometimes, even with a blinker. They know if you're going left, you're not gonna bother anybody. You come home, you can't turn onto Wilder Avenue, people won't let you go.
I sit under the carport there on my property, and I see almost every day more accidents on that corner of East Street and Route 5, because people are going like hell on Route 5 and somebody's trying to get out. And if they're going a little bit slow, they get right on their rear end, blowing the goddamn horn nuts, like they're all nuts down there. And this would just add to it.
People died. People died
Right.
a year and a half ago
Yeah, then the motorcycle.
on the
him-
motorcycle in front of
The
my,
guy
right
and
in
his
front of
kid.
it, right in front of my house. And that's not the only, over the years, many people have died on that corner.
Absolutely. The guy lost his leg on the motorcycle,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and the dog.
Got whacked there.
Yeah.
Does the board have any other questions?
No,
Okay.
I mean, I think we need more information.
I make a motion that we continue this public hearing to our next meeting, which is May
11th.
Well, before we do that, that doesn't actually give you guys a whole lot of time to do the amount of work that we've given you to do. So I wonder that, I know that if we're continuing, we have to like say when we're continuing, but I just, like it doesn't really make sense for you to come back if you haven't done
But then we
stuff.
could continue it again, or they
So we
could
can
withdraw.
continue it again,
Could-
but it would be nice if you could, as a courtesy, let the planning board know in advance of the meeting, if, planning department, sorry, not the planning board, they don't need to be involved. The planning department know in advance, enough in advance that the, agenda that gets posted can say whether they're gonna be back, so that if your neighbor, if the folks in the adjacent area want to come back, they don't come back only to find out that you're not here
Right.
with
Right.
more information.
You would need to get me that information by May 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we'll continue it to May 10th, but make sure that you
Could we
communicate.
withdraw this and then submit it withdraw it without prejudice and then submit it later?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's totally
Okay.
fine.
If you do that, the application starts again, so all of the.
So then we just give you another $250.
And that would be.
The city would appreciate you taking that route.
We can do that, and then I'll just call you if we don't have it done.
So what's the?
So
that you're-
would you
you're-
like an extension, or would you like to withdraw?
No, we'll do it. We'll withdraw.
Yeah, I would hold withdraw and then go to extension.
Okay.
That way we don't have to waste anyone's time.
Right.
All right.
And then the next time, we'll go about it the right way. We'll go let the neighbors know so they don't hear it from the paper.
Okay.
Maybe seek their input on the way through everything.
Okay.
Some of them might not want to talk to us at all, I know. But,
Don't worry, Ben, I still love you.
I think they want to talk to you.
no.
I think that
But,
makes a lot of
and then that
sense.
way it doesn't waste anyone else's
Time
time.
to come back.
And then when we're better prepared, we can resubmit. Just give you guys a little more money. And, go
Gotta
from
give
there.
us the money.
And, no, not you, but yeah, I know.
Yes. Okay, so
Yeah.
you're looking to withdraw
Yeah.
your applications?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
We don't need a motion for that.
I think just so that they can resubmit,
We
they
do.
want to make sure that it's withdrawn without prejudice.
Okay.
So,
So the board has accepted that you are withdrawing your application, be held without prejudice, and that you may resubmit an application at a future point, and I believe you all understand what we are expected as an application.
Absolutely.
Process.
All right,
perfect.
Sound good?
and we already did our announcements.
All right.
all in favor?
No,
Yeah,
all
favor?
motion,
Yeah.
yeah, bye.
All right. All right.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Uh,
Thank you, one and all, for coming.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.